¿Y para qué se usa la boca? ¿Para qué se usa la boca? La boca se usa ¿para qué? Hablar, ¿no? Se usa para hablar. Muy bien. Y las piernas se usan, plural, para caminar. Excelente. Ok, chicos, quiero clarificar el uso de se en este ejemplo. Para resumir, ¿cómo se dice la boca en inglés? Mouth, right? So what are we saying when we say se usa para hablar? O se usan los dedos para tocar el piano? O se usan para caminar cuando describimos las piernas? What are we expressing here? We're simply stating what? What it's used for, right? A mouth is used for talking. Legs are used for walking. That's all we're simply stating here. So the use of se here isn't necessarily indicating a reflective action with the verb usar. The infinitive is not usarse, it's just usar. But we're using se here to indicate what it's used for. Otro uso de se usa para hablar, reírse, beber, comer, or caminar, correr, bailar. Muchos usos. Ok, bueno, entonces vamos a aplicar el uso de se en el contexto de describir los dedos, o la boca, o las piernas. Otro uso, o otro ejemplo. En Argentina se usa la guardia. Se usa la guardia. ¿Recuerden el video sobre la guardia? Es como la sala de emergencia, pero un poquito diferente. So what does this sentence mean? What is this sentence saying? Se usa la guardia en Argentina. We know usa means what? To use, right, exactly. La guardia doesn't really have a translation. We know we're talking about Argentina. So basically, when we put se with usa here, we're not saying what it's used for because we don't have anything with para and an infinitive, but we're simply saying they use. This is like an impersonal use of se. It's the impersonal se, and it's kind of like saying they use. But it's very general. It's not very specific at all. We're not talking about, we don't have a subject like los argentinos. I don't even really have a subject before my verb here. Like it's not like yo me enfermaba. I'm not even saying in Argentina, los argentinos here. I'm not even being that specific. In fact, we don't even have a subject here whatsoever. So what do you think determines the conjugation of my verb usa? First of all, just looking at the verb, is it singular or is it plural? It's singular. We know it's singular because why? It simply ends in the letter A versus A-N, okay? So what else in this sentence is singular that could possibly determine its conjugation? Muy bien, Margarita. La guardia. So la guardia is why it's singular. So when we have the impersonal se, when we want to express the idea of they, like in España, se habla español. We're simply saying they speak Spanish in Spain. And I don't have a subject. I just said in España, comma, se habla español. Español is singular, so I use the singular form of habla. And I throw that se in there to indicate this impersonal use. Se. Or in España, se come la paella. In Mexico, se celebra el Día de los Muertos. And remember, se celebra, se celebra, se celebra. Where have you heard se celebra before? On our previous test, right? Se celebra. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. Why we were writing, I just taught you that and you wrote it. And I didn't go over why we were using se with celebra, even though celebrar is not reflexive. I just wanted to just sneak it in there and get you to use it and become familiar with it in a context and then teach it to you. Same with in class last week when we were describing body parts. I didn't go over this. You guys just trusted me and used se usa and se usan, and she's like, okay, that's what she's going to tell us to do, we'll do it, without necessarily knowing its grammatical function. And actually, I did that on purpose, working backwards. It's more effective for your language learning to just start using it and then learn the rules. Just like as a child, you learn to speak before you go to school. You couldn't ask like a 3-year-old who knows how to speak, can you tell me the difference between a noun and a verb? Or what's the past tense of to go? They don't know that, but they still say like, I went, or, I like to play with my blocks, things like that. We learn to speak before we learn the rules. And so that's what I'm trying to do with you. Thanks for trusting me. Okay, se prohíbe. Used this in class before. You've probably seen this before. If you've ever been in a Spanish-speaking country, you've seen this before. Se prohíbe fumar en este contexto dentro del edificio. Or a lot of times in public places, like an airport, you don't even have to leave the U.S. In the airport, you've got the sign in Spanish and the sign in English. We're pretty bilingual. We're becoming more and more bilingual, our community in public places in the United States. I guarantee you've seen se prohíbe at some point, which is indicating what? Se prohíbe fumar? What's it saying? It's prohibited. So we can interpret this 2 different ways. Impersonal, like they prohibit smoking, or the passive say, which is it's prohibited. The say in Spanish has so many different uses.
Does that say possessive?
Passive.
Passive.
Sorry.
Okay,
Prohibited. Passive because we have this ed on the verb. It's prohibited. Passive voice, but not past tense. This is not the preterite or imperfect. When I use passive, I'm not talking about the tense. I'm talking about the voice, passive voice. It's prohibited, or it's permitted, or it's allowed, or it's not allowed. We put ed on verbs in English even though we're not talking about somebody's specific past tense action. Okay, passive voice, but the grammar, the conjugation is still the same. So, se prohíbe es singular or plural? Es singular. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué es singular? Fumar. Fumar es singular. And that's what determines our verb conjugation. Prohíbe, singular. Okay? So, in terms of the way, not the meaning, but in terms of the way this concept functions, it's kind of similar to me gusta la clase de español, or me gustan, la pizza y la cerveza. So we can build grammatically on what we know with gusta and gustan, singular versus plural. With all your superside homework, it's either, and on the test, it's either going to be prohíbe or prohíben. This is like a really easy part on the test. And like I said at the beginning of this chapter, la gramática es fácil en la lección 2. So you need to get A's on the next test to prepare you for chapter 11. Give you a nice cushion, because chapter 11 is mucho más difícil gramaticalmente. Okay, por ejemplo, no se permiten mascotas. So what's the meaning behind this? Are you going to go in here with your dog? No, because why? What's it saying? Pets are not permitted or allowed. So is this the passive voice or impersonal? Pets are not allowed. Passive. This is the passive say, not allowed. Okay? So we have the passive say, and now you know how to say pets in Espanol. Mascotas. Which reminds you of what word? Mascots. Mascotas are pets. You'd figure it out though. And sometimes they use animales domésticos. But a mascota is a pet. Singular or plural? Plural. ¿Por qué? Mascotas. No? Plural. So just like I was saying, gusta, gustan, what determines the conjugation is what comes after our verb. No? And infinitives, just like with gusta and gustan, are always singular. If you ever, even if you have like bailar, cantar, etc., it's always singular. Okay, you would definitely see this if you went to a Spanish-speaking country walking around. In a city, you're going to see apartments, and in some apartments, you would see this sign, Se vende casa. Se vende casa is simply saying what? Yeah, house for sale, it's for sale. So it doesn't even have, I mean, you see this all the time. So really this is more, not necessarily passive, but impersonal. The impersonal say, and really you will always see for sale in Spanish with se vende. Se vende means for sale. That's how we say it. And we've seen this verb before, haven't we? Vender with la ropa. Remember? El semestre pasado, no? Vender means for sale, not just because of the context here and it's obvious, but because it looks like what word in English? Vend, right, which is a fancy term for sale. Y es singular or plural? Singular. ¿Por qué? Casa, no? Singular. Casa. Una casa, no? Okay. Otro, menos obvio, pero que aplica al vocabulario. Este capítulo, se necesitan dadores de sangre. ¿Qué significa se necesitan dadores de sangre? What's this soliciting? What's needed? Repeat? Blood donors. Exactly. Blood donors. No? So, blood donors, they need blood donors, or blood donors are needed. You could interpret it either way. It could be interpreted as a passive say or the impersonal say. Either way. However you like. Impersonal or passive. So the interpretation is up to you. But if this was like fill in the blank on the superset of the homework, you had to complete the sentence, what would determine the conjugation of this verb, necesitan? ¿Es singular or plural? Plural. ¿Por qué? Dadores es plural. Dadores. ¿Cómo se dice sangre en inglés? Blood. What does it remind you of? La bebida alcohólica? Sangría. Exactly. ¿Qué color es sangría? Roja. ¿Qué color es sangre? Rojo. Entonces, sangría viene de la palabra sangre. It's easy to remember. ¿No? Plural. Okay, uno más. Mi favorito. Se habla español most of the time. Muy típico en los Estados Unidos. Mucho bilingüismo. Aquí. So, how would we interpret this?
Spanglish.
Spanglish. This is total Spanglish. But this is for real. Total Spanglish. And it's simply, and you'll see this all the time. I see this all the time. Se habla español, which is stating what? Spanish is spoken, or they speak Spanish here. Either one, impersonal or passive. However you'd like to interpret it. I'd probably go with passive, but whatever. It's both. Is spoken or they speak. Either way. Singular or plural. Se habla. ¿Es singular o plural? Singular. ¿Por qué? Español. Sí. So none of these have a specific subject. They're the impersonal or passive say. We don't have like Paco y Maria. We don't have like, los trabajadores aquí hablan español. Nosotros hablamos español. There's no subject whatsoever. So you have to look after the blank to determine the conjugation of your verb. Okay, so para resumir, say has many uses in español, muchos usos. It can be used as a reflexive pronoun, me, te, say, nos, os, say. So how are you supposed to know if you use say reflexively? How can you tell on a verb that it's reflexive? What about the verb tells us it's reflexive? Right, in its infinitive form, we have the say, like enfermarse, relajarse, divertirse. No? So when we conjugate a verb that's reflexive, our options are me, te, say, nos, os, say. Right? That's one use of say. Y también tenemos el say impersonal. Se va a la guardia. You or they. En la clase de español, se habla español, no? No specific subject. You would never say yo or ellos or anything with this, because then that means it's reflexive and they're doing it to themselves. So it's when we don't have a specific subject, which is why it's called impersonal, no? Y tenemos el se pasivo. Se habla español most of the time, is spoken, no? Se usan los dedos para tocar el piano. Fingers are used to play the piano, see?
Repeat numero uno ex.
Sí, número uno, explicación. Excellent. This is on the super site probably, I think. I don't assign the activities, but I'm pretty sure there's a couple with this, so I want to go over it, but you don't need to know it for the test. However, I'll give you 2 pesos. I'll give you an example of one if you ever use this expression in class, because it's a really, really good one to know, and I'll go over it here in a second. This is called the unplanned say, and it's used, here's your explanation, used for accidents, okay? Something unintentional happens. Something spills, something falls, you forget something. In Spanish, you don't have to take ownership grammatically of any accident ever, okay? And I'll explain. This is why I love this. You're just the recipient, the victim of forgetting your homework, or the victim of spilling your water all over your friend. That was an accident. And grammatically, you don't have to take any responsibility for it. And I'll show you here in a second why, okay? And again, this is not on the test, but you do, I think, need to know it, not only for the super site, but in context. You might use it. And you'll get 2 pesos if you use a particular one that I point out any point this semester, next semester. This is called the unplanned say. So we're going to break down the meaning and la gramática, okay? So first, what's going on here? The meaning. Siempre y más importante. A los recién casados se les cayó el pastel. So what happened to these poor newlyweds? Their cake fell, right? So that's what we would say in English. Their cake fell. But in Spanish, grammatically, cake, well, actually, in this particular one, cake is what determines the conjugation of this verb. Cayó is singular because why? El pastel is singular. El pastel is singular. So there's your use, and we're using it in the preterite because it's something that happened. So who does lace refer to? What is up with the lace? Where does the lace come from? The lace is referring to whom? Yeah, the people, the newlyweds. Lace refers to los recién casados. And remember, ley or lace is used with that ah. Oops, perdón, chicos. The ah. Whenever we have a, that's our object marker a, that refers to an object pronoun, in this case, lace. It's plural, so we use lace. If it was singular, we would use lay, which we'll see here in a second. And the say, the use of the say here is just to indicate that was an accident. Okay, this is like the accidental say or the unplanned say. So another use of say en español. Okay, otro ejemplo. La mamá de Paco se le perdieron los antibióticos. So what happened here? What did the mom do? She lost the prescription, the antibiotics. And in English, she would have to take credit for this error. She's the one who made the mistake. That's what we would do in English. But in Spanish, it just happened to her. She is actually the object of losing the antibiotics because antibióticos or perdieron is singular or plural. It's actually plural, and that's because why? Antibióticos is plural. It's just the mother, but the antibióticos determines our conjugation perdieron. Who did it happen to? La mamá de Paco, which is why we have the ley. The ley indicates to whom this unfortunate event occurred. A la mamá de Paco, singular, ley, singular. We have the a personal to indicate ley, the recipient. The object marker a. And the say just tells us, oh, it was an accident. So if you lose anything in Spanish, you lose your phone, you lose your keys. Your phone is singular, your keys are plural. So let's say you lose your keys, las llaves. You would say, oh, se me perdieron las llaves. Or if you lost your phone, se me perdió, singular, el teléfono. Or you lost your homework, profeseta. Like if it was back in the day where you turn in homework paper. You'd be like, se me perdió la tarea, perdón. And you don't have to take any responsibility for that, grammatically speaking. Okay, uno más. A la médica se le olvidó sacar la radiografía. So what happened here? Whoops. She forgot to what? Sacar la radiografía. She's probably going to get fired. It's really important. Yeah, the x-ray, right? So, sacar la radiografía, singular or plural? Singular, no, infinitivo. So, olvidó es singular, right? And then, le is referring to whom? La médica, no? Singular, so we use la médica, le. A la médica, le. Okay, so those pesos, anytime during this semester, next semester, if you use this expression, just automáticamente, in context. You can't just blurt it out and get some pesos. It has to be in context. If you want to say, I forgot, how would you say, I forgot something? If it happened to you, or actually to specify and clarify, me. If I forgot something, say me. Right, exactly. So you'll get dos pesos. If you ever forget anything, let's say today you turn in your pesos, you're about to turn in your 10 pesos, you would say, oh, profeseta, perdón, se me olvidaron. Perdón. Oh, you're going to get some pesos for that. Okay, se me olvidaron, plural, preterite, AR verb, los pesos. Or let's say you forgot your book, it would be se me olvidó. Gosh, I'm not spelling it right. There's no I right there. Olvidó el libro. This is really, really helpful to know in español. This is like a expresión muy importante. If you're hablando español, you know, you're asking for forgiveness. You feel bad. You forgot something. If you ever forget anything, se me olvidó, or se me olvidaran. It's really, really helpful. This is like una expresión muy buena. Por eso ganan 2 pesos por usar. Okay, no vamos